Welcome back again to USGoonerz for another Arsenal video. This is your first time in the channel, consider liking the video, hype the video, subscribe, especially if you're an Arsenal fan, and let's get into this. It's a Gunners Reality Check, episode 3, whereby we pretty much talk any and everything Arsenal. For this one, we're going to be reviewing the 2025-2026 Premier League season for Arsenal, which was a good season because we won the league. We are champions. We're going to break down this video into like 5 different phases where we talk about the different factors that enabled Arsenal to win the league, pretty much how Arteta handled the pressure. We already know what prevented us from winning the league last season. Injuries was a big part of that. So our number one priority was to resolve that problem, to buy players that, even though we have injuries to the key players in our squad, it wasn't going to affect the season. There's not going to be a huge drop-off. So this was squad depth. If someone came up to me today and asked me, how did Arsenal win the Premier League? I won't tell you it's because Mikel Arteta scored 14 league goals or Eze was in the squad. No, I would tell you Arsenal won the league because of squad depth. Squad depth is almost like a cheat code. With squad depth, you're going to be able to go far in not just every tournament, but also be resilient and be consistent throughout the league phase. This was something Pep Guardiola always had about Arsenal, but we never really paid close attention to it until this summer. Pep Guardiola has always had squad depth that he was able to not just play on the forefront. I'm talking about Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Premier League and Champions League, and probably also doing a treble within one of those seasons, right? We're not just talking about being in all those competitions. We're talking about during games when you have major injuries to your top players and the person you're bringing off the bench or to replace that injured player, the drop-off is not so much. This is something that Arsenal struggled heavily with last season. I remember the beginning of the season in the 2024-2025, Odegaard had an injury. We drew a lot of games during that time. Going forward, Saka had an injury. I think we lost a couple of games. One time, Gabriel had an injury. Saliba had an injury. They all affected how Arsenal played and prevented us from winning games or getting our 3 points. But a lot of people didn't want to acknowledge the fact that Arsenal did not win the 2024-2025 season because of injuries. And Liverpool had a very, very fortunate season whereby their top players were delivering and they were not getting injuries to the key players. Mo Salah literally won them the title, but Mo Salah he didn't get injured during that season. So, and Arsenal were riddled with injuries. We couldn't chase down Liverpool. Liverpool ended up walking the league. Even when it came down to April of last season, Liverpool were dropping points in April, but they were okay dropping points because Arsenal was struggling to keep up. So this was a major problem that we had to resolve in the summer. So getting Mikel Arteta, Noni Madueke, Berichi Eze, Nkapie, and Mosquera, right? I say and Mosquera, even though Kepa is part of that. And you know what? I'm going to add Kepa in there for a certain context, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if you ask me throughout the season, Kepa really didn't help us win the league, but he did play a key role by being in the squad. So just getting these 5 players enabled Arsenal to have squad depth whereby we could have an injured Havertz and having one of the best 9s at that time, Mikel Arteta, on the pitch, right? So the striking force wasn't a huge drop-off. Had an injured Saka, but we having Noni Madueke come in to replace Saka. Drop-off was not so much. Madueke put in a shift. Had an injured Odegaard, Eze came in, put in his shift. We had an injured Calafiori, Lewis-Skelly was not in form, and Nkapie came in, put in his shift. Once upon a time, we had an injured Gabriel and had an injured Saliba. Mosquera comes in to pitch in one of those 2 sides. And we also had injured Urin Timber later on in the season. You saw Mosquera coming in to do a shift. So squad depth was a major factor this season, and that's why Arsenal was able to handle injuries to key players throughout the season that did not even make us miss them one beat. Like Saka wasn't even playing his best football, but yet again, Noni was coming in and doing the best he can. Another point I'm going to talk about is Mikel Arteta. Right, so we already know the process of Arsenal, especially Mikel coming into an Arsenal where we were in the dumps. Mikel Arteta came into Arsenal, first season finishes 8th, second season finishes 8th, third season finishes 5th, misses out on the Champions League spot. But that was when you saw progress in Arsenal going forward. The way Arsenal moved from 8th to 5th, almost making it to Champions League, but missing out. Obviously, in his fourth season, that's when Arteta challenges for the title against the almighty Pep, who had an unbelievable squad. But Arteta challenges and he finishes second for the first time. The follow-up season, under Arteta's belt, challenges again for the title, finishes second for the second time. The third season, there was no Pep. It was Ancelot's Liverpool. That's when we were ridiculed with injuries, but he still finished second. I won't call it much of a title challenge because we really didn't challenge Liverpool. Like, we literally fell off in February. But we finished second, which was somewhat of a downwards trajectory because of how we finished second, but still, it is second 3 times in a row. But now this season, a lot of people call you Butlers FC, can't handle the pressure, second again, ole ole, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But a lot of people were ignoring the fact that the more you fail, the more you learn. You have to fail fast and fail hard in order for you to learn. If you hang around the barbershop long enough, eventually you're going to get a haircut. This was something Arteta was doing repeatedly, always hanging around second, challenging for the title. It was going to happen eventually. You just didn't know when, but you know it was coming. Arsenal was going to win the league one day, especially because of how much we kept challenging and finishing second. So Arteta finishing second back-to-back, learned a lot and was able to know that, okay, if you're going to win the league, you have to be consistent, you have to win games, you have to make yourself hard to beat, and you have to put on a winning run. So based on all that, and also understanding how to rotate your players, squad depth, utilizing your squad depth, and that's what Arteta used to his best of his ability. Don't get me wrong, he did make a couple of mistakes throughout the season, but still, he was able to recover and recover strong. He was pragmatic. He wasn't sticking to his ways, especially when he knows his ways is not working. If it's not working, he's gonna change or fix it. If he makes some mistakes, he tries to fix it immediately. So Arteta alone had learned from the failures chasing Pep and Slot, and he applied everything to this season. Everyone called our football boring Arsenal, but the idea of this season was control, solid defense, consistency, and obviously set piece. These were the key factors that Arsenal gameplay was all about. Arsenal won games playing boring, right? It wasn't attacking or pleasing the eye, but we got wins. We got crucial 3 points. We soaked up pressure. We were able to be resilient and win ugly. So these were things that Arteta had to adapt and apply throughout the season. He made tough calls. He dropped Odegaard. He dropped Gyökeres. He dropped Lewis-Skelly. He even dropped Saka sometimes. So he had to consistently evolve throughout the season. And when it came down to the Bournemouth game when we lost 2-1, Arteta had to make changes. So Arteta needed a major trophy under his belt to validate the work he has done. Because don't get me wrong, there is banter, there is objectivity, subjectivity, and bias version of this whole Arsenal season, or Arteta as a whole. One thing you can agree on is he has made an amazing progress on this job. He has taken Arsenal from a super downwards banter club to a strong title challengers that people bring us in conversation of best in the league, best in Europe. So Arteta had done a great job, but he hadn't won any majors to put some kind of validation to the work. So winning a major was so important, not just for Mikel Arteta, but for certain players in the club like Declan Rice, Gabriel, Saliba, Bukayo Saka. So Arteta needed this trophy. Now, where does this trophy rank Arteta in the league of managers, right? We have Pep Guardiola, we have Luis Enrique, we have Fergie. These are genius managers. These are top managers. These are the standard if you're trying to become a manager. It's hard to do because they've done this season in, season out, won majors, and they've kept the consistency for a very long time. Arteta winning his first major does not even get him close to being that static. It's just like one of many, right? Because those guys have done it multiple times. This is Arteta's first time. But it's a sign that he's going in the right direction, and you'll be able to call him a good manager or an elite manager. Not a good manager, an elite manager. A manager that is pretty much now the most experienced in the league, the only manager to have won the Premier League still in the league, the manager seen as the favorite to go and dominate the league. Premier League validated Mikel Arteta's work and really added another rank when you're rating him as a manager. So now a lot of people would rate Arteta because of the kind of work he's done at Arsenal. Now, Arsenal in the Champions League were literally unbeaten, right? We didn't lose a game in the Champions League in 90 minutes. We were really good in the Champions League as expected because teams always want to attack us and give us more space, and we're able to blow teams away. So in the Champions League, we made a lot of progress compared to last season. And that has been our trajectory in Europe so far, especially in Mikel Arteta's era. Arteta has started off as from Champions League quarterfinal, losing to Bayern Munich, then in the semifinals, losing to PSG, now in the final, losing to PSG. We're so close. We need to win our first Champions League. So we already know what we're targeting next season. The Champions League is one of them. We've never won a Champions League in our Arsenal history. It's the one thing rival fans have been using to banter us for years and years to come, and they're still going to do it into next season. We're so close, I can smell it coming. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, and the Champions League really did what we needed to do in order to get something out of that game. Playing against PSG this season, PSG is one of the best attacking teams in the league. They literally beat Bayern Munich. Well, if you ask me. When they went band for band against Bayern Munich, they won that. When they went in defensive side of the game against Bayern Munich, I think it was a 1-1 draw. They won the tie in the semifinals. They beat Liverpool, beat Chelsea. They've been blowing teams away. Coming against Arsenal, the best defense in the league, best defense versus best attack. What are you gonna do? Gonna have to prevent them from scoring you. It's simple. Yin yang. They attack you, you stop them from scoring. And that's exactly what we did. We played a very defensive game, nullified their attack, made them look average. We wanted to get the game all the way to extra time, into penalties, and just, let it be a 50-50 coin cost, because if it was band for band, it'd probably been a 70-30 advantage for PSG. So we turned it to a 50-50 advantage, and they came out the victors in penalty shootout. Amazing performance from my point of view. I think we did the best we could. Try not to touch too much on Champions League, but I already know what we want next, and I know what we're getting next. Champions League is something we need to win. What must Arsenal do in the transfer market and going into next season? We already know next season is going to be a very, very interesting season. Pep Guardiola is not going to be there. He's left Man City. Arsenal are Premier League champions. Mikel Arteta is now the long-standing manager in the Big Six club and the only manager to have won the Premier League in the Premier League. For the first time ever, Arsenal have been ascended to the throne. We got the ascension, the master stepped down, the apprentice is now the new master. So, teams are coming for us, but there is an opportunity for us to dominate. The only way we dominate is by being smart and doing exactly what we did last season. Squad depth. Squad depth won us the league. It wasn't a 20 plus goal scorer winners the league or a magnificent 10. No. Squad depth won us the league. Squad depth enabled us to be consistent. Squad depth enabled us to get wins. Yes, set piece played a key role. You should be able to solve that issue in the transfer market. The reason we relied so much on set piece rather than we breaking down low blocks and be more creative and more attacking is because of our individual players. If you look at PSG on the other hand, all their wingers can take on two-man and beat their two-man and create chances. And not just the wingers, the striker can do the same. Yao Neves, they can beat their man. Their right back, Hakimi, can beat his man. Fabio Ruiz can beat his man. Nuno Mendes can beat his man. So they have individual players that are technically good to beat their man. They don't need to pass sideways. They know how to dribble. Going in the transfer market, Arsenal need to strengthen our attack by bringing players that know how to dribble. Our players should be able to turn and beat their man, beat one or two man, and create your own chance. Cannot rely on the side passes. We have to be able to beat our man. I'm talking of players like Eze. Eze, even though you feel like Eze is not as good as Odegaard, but Eze can beat his man. Eze is technically gifted to dribble past his man. Odegaard can do that as well. Don't get me wrong. Saka can do that, but not so much. But we need people like that in the left wing. Trossard can do that, but not so much. We need someone that does it better than Trossard, does it better than Saka, and also you already know Gyökeres can't beat his man. He just scores goals. So you need a striker that knows how to beat his man better than Gyökeres. You need another 10 that knows how to beat his man like Eze. When you get these type of players, and if you're letting go of any player from those positions, it should be the guy below them. So Trossard versus Martinelli, let one go. Havertz, Gyökeres, Jesus, let one go. Bukayo Saka, do not let anyone go. Just add a third man that is better than Saka. When you add someone that is better than Saka, better than Gyökeres, better than Trossard, better than Eze in that squad, now you have an elite squad that knows how to play controlled football, knows how to defend solidly, knows how to win set piece and score set piece goals, and also know how to beat their man. We just need to add that kind of players, those kind of players into our squad. We go into the next season, no matter what other teams do, if they want to try and shut out our corners, our players are going to be able to handle them. Control, we already do that. Defensive structure, we already have that. So just strengthen on an experience, getting over the line, we have that as well. Adding these factors in there and young players that are really hungry, it gives us a chance to go again and retain the Premier League title. Something we haven't also done in a long time. Retain the Premier League title and going extremely deep into the Champions League as well, because although PSG will still be there, you can see Real Madrid is trying to strengthen and come back in the Champions League. Barcelona trying to do the same thing, but if they still keep playing the high line, Barcelona will lose out in the Champions League. But you see how the Champions League is a priority now. Retain the Premier League, win the Champions League. So Arsenal, we are champions, Premier League champions. Our season was a success. Although we lost the Champions League, I still consider it a success. We finally won the league, and now we have 14 league titles going for 15 into next season. So far, our radar season, 9 over 10. Amazing season. But yeah, we've come to the end of this video. It was a long one. I tried not to make it so long, but it's a full Arsenal review just to see how the season has been so far. And we move on next to the World Cup. It's an Arsenal channel, but I'm still going to try and I'm a football fan as well. I'm an Arsenal fan, but a football fan. So we're going to be covering games in the World Cup, talking about everything World Cup and the players in the World Cup. We're going to experience the World Cup as an Arsenal fan and enjoy football. So yeah, the next videos will be on that, talking about my favorite team in the World Cup, who I'm looking out for since my team Nigeria is not there. I'm going to have to pick someone. I already have someone. France. Yeah, I said it. France is my team. But anyway, come to the end of the video. If it's your first time here, like this video, subscribe, especially if you're an Arsenal fan, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.